So basically, I'm just going to go poke around in my flashlight renders real quick. Do images. So I think I want flashlight GI? No, sorry, I put these all in the wrong folders. I want flashlight IES lights. So I'm just going to dump these in Photoshop. And you can see, so in this like cruddy little flashlight that I did, and this particular, like if I've ever given you a comment where it's like, it looks like you have a nice metal texture, but since there's nothing in the background reflecting, everything is just sort of, like everything looks really black. It's kind of like my dumb, stupid hack for like getting around that. But basically, so this is, and this is looking at the image with reasonable amount of global illumination and no background on that. And you can see that like there's not a whole lot of detail in the reflection of my flashlight, just kind of chilling there. It's like not really doing much of anything interesting. So this is global illumination with my crappy background that I put in, and this is not a what the heck? A second. This is not a HDR. This is just like an image I put in the background. Because I'm using global illumination, it did actually go through and like added a bunch more, like kind of lighten the whole image up. But I have, you know, control over where my lights are. It's the same light positioning as the other one. And you can see that now I have some little reflections in that flashlight, and there's like a little more interesting stuff happening there. So this is a little bit of global illumination, no background. Less global illumination is pretty much all kind of like the same thing. But yeah, so that's that. The actual hack itself is pretty stupid, but sometimes I use it if I, again, just need like a really like cruddy little reflection in the back or something. Sometimes I don't even use a full sphere. I'll just sort of throw in a plane with a texture on it. So I'm going to grab my flashlight randomly in my flashlight 1 file. Huzzah. And this is, in case anyone was curious, the setup for my flashlight. I just have this horrible collection of clipping planes, 2 little area lights, and an IES light in the weird glass dome of this. So if I render this, forgot it makes me relink my stupid IES light every time I do this, which is super obnoxious. Alright, so I'm just gonna go grab another random IES light real quick. Sure, what the heck? Star, why not? I like playing with, oh god, that's horrible looking. Poor use of an IES light. I have noticed that if you put them in a basically cone like I've done here, and the light gets cut off, it does tend to make a very, very hard edge there. I haven't found a great way around that, but just like, that's why that's happening. That's why it looks so weird. But anywho, so if I zoom in on this flashlight, again, you can kind of see like nothing particularly interesting is happening. There's no real like reflections here. So my silly, like really horrible hack for this, if I don't want to use an HDR for some reason, I can go in and I'm just going to basically make a fake HDR. I'm just going to make a giant sphere around this like a crazy person. So basically I'm going to use this as a reflective surface for this to catch reflection. So I'm just going to, in this case, I don't want to be looking at the inside of the sphere when I'm looking at my light. So I'm going to mesh display reverse this sphere so that what was previously the inside is now the renderable visible outside. And at this point, I'm just going to go through and assign a new material to this. And I want a surface shader. And for the record, the surface shader is like the only default Maya texture I don't completely hate. For one, it's not supposed to look realistic, so the fact that it doesn't isn't really an issue. But basically what a surface shader does is it's not reflected, or light does not affect it at all. So if I go through, you can see right now it's black. If I set this to be white, this pretty much looks just like a dome light at this point. Where am I going? I would like to really quickly turn off GI. Right. Well, that looks super gross. So this is the image without GI. But you can see that, like, no matter what I do to this lighting here, this is always going to be whatever color it is. So into my surface shader, I'm just going to go in and grab a random file texture, and I'm literally just going to grab one from someone's final project that I downloaded and that I looked at, so it's probably going to get real weird. Last class, I happened to just grab a gas mask one, which was interesting. It's just like giant gas mask eyeballs. Alright, who has source images in this? Wait, I can just grab your actual renders. Haha, alright. Fantastic, so now we have this very awkward looking piano image in our surface shader. It makes no sense. I literally just wanted something for reflections. So it's actually not like terribly apparent if you're not using GI. But if I set GI to 1, you can see, especially for specular, even if I can even leave diffuse at 0 if I wanted to and set specular 1, but you can see that now I have reflections, and the entire scene isn't really being illuminated by that sphere I've added. It's just, again, sort of helping to lend reflections into my renders. If you do turn on diffuse GI by default, the whole scene does lighten. And what's happening there is not actually, it's not like the surface shader is casting light. What's happening is, since it's a solid piece of geometry, the global illumination is actually hitting it and then bouncing back onto your render, so I'm just getting more reflected light here. It's not actively casting light. You should be able to actually, I forget where the setting is off the top of my head, but I think there's actually a way to go through yes, no. There's a weird way to go through and like turn that off so it doesn't get reflections in your GI. I just like don't remember what it is off the top of my head. But yeah, that's just like my really, really stupid, crappy background hack if you want to do your own custom lighting and not have to deal with HDRs for some reason. But yeah, I don't know. Any questions on that like weird little demo? Cool. Alright, so the only other thing I want to go over like super quickly is AOVs.